The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has been a staunch supporter of former President Jacob Zuma. But after the region's losses in the party's elective conference, which took place in December, the provincial leadership has embraced President Cyril Ramaphosa as the head of the party. But where do they stand in the legal dispute between these two leaders? For more on this now, we're joined by the ANC's KZN Provincial Secretary, Bheki Mtolo. Babu Mtolo, thank you very much for your time. Can I kick off this conversation by first asking whether there are any efforts from your side as the provincial leadership to try and smooth things out between President Zuma and President Ramaphosa?
No, thanks very much, Xoli. Good morning to viewers. I think you would know that former President Zuma and President Ramaphosa are national leaders of the ANC. What I can say is that the newly elected Secretary General has tried on the 28th of December to contact me and demanded that I must immediately get the number of former President Zuma because he wants to arrange to meet him and start a process of making sure that there is a smooth relationship between him and the President. And I contacted the PA of the former President Zuma, Comrade Noma, immediately after I've spoken with the Secretary General, who then said he's going to speak with the former president and come back to me on that. But unfortunately, Comrade Noma has not come back to me. But I'm trying to say, national leadership, immediately after it was elected, Secretary General has made some move to show that process starts. But I think when President Zuma is compatible, he will come back to us and make sure that there's a connection between him and the head office.
That was on the 28th of December.
Yes.
When Xoli Mngambi, the new Secretary General, tried to make good on his promise, because he said this publicly, that he would request for tea in Ghana. Now, that has not happened. That's obviously an indicator from President Zuma's side that he may not be willing to entertain Xoli Mngambi. From your end, again I ask, is there anything that can be done? I understand that these are matters that perhaps ought to be handled at national level, but you would agree with me when I say, in a way, the provincial leadership has been the go-between or the conduit between the issues that have surrounded President Zuma when it comes to what national leadership should be doing. Again, I ask you, is there anything that you are doing to try and resolve this?
No, you are making a mistake for you because you are now reducing former President Zuma to be a regional leader of KwaZulu-Natal. He's a former president of the ANC. Then there's no need for him to go through national through ourselves. But of course, the Secretary General was just, as an administrative point of view, had to contact me and that, I think. But because we mustn't give assumptions that are not there for now, let's give it a benefit of a doubt that it was holidays. Former President Zuma is an old man of more than 8 years. Maybe after these holidays, he will make up his mind. I strongly believe that he will have to contact the national office and make sure that there's a link between him, because he would know better that for him being a former president and have no contact with the national office is not only in the disadvantage of himself personally, but it's also in the disadvantage of the ANC and South Africa.
Yeah. When you
I always ask that he will always act in the best interest of South Africa.
Yeah. Well, I said, or I asked the initial question, Mr. Mtolo, based on what would have been the previous statements that were made by the provincial leadership. And I'm talking to you as a leadership that is in place now, but the one just before you took over, they were at the forefront of efforts to say the decision that was made by the ANC at national level to say when a fellow comrade is in court for matters that could bring the image of the party into disrepute, and therefore an instruction was issued. And a blanket instruction was issued to say no member will go to court in their capacity as ANC members. They can go there in their private capacity. It was the leadership of KwaZulu-Natal that said, no, National, you are making a mistake. This is a leader, a national leader of the party. Yes, he may be facing challenges now, but the decision you've made, it has set us up for something that is not good, and therefore we ask you to reverse this decision. It is in that context that I'm asking this question. Am I wrong still?
No. Let's put it into context. We never said the decision of the National Executive Committee is not right. Or I think former Provincial Secretary Committee explained this extensively and comprehensively, that we went to the National Executive Committee and said the implementation of the decision as it relates to former President Zuma becomes difficult in the sense that when you go to court and ANC is not in charge, there are elements that go to court and use the court case appearance at the disadvantage of the ANC and in the intention deliberately to disrupt the African National Congress. It is that context that we approach national leadership. And national leadership agreed with us, would say, here I think we had an oversight, you are correct. Then we said that process must be led by the ANC structure, which is the Provincial Executive Committee. And that matter was settled.
Yeah. All right. Perhaps South Africans, Mr. Mtolo, will be asking themselves, why is even this conversation that you and I necessary when former President Jacob Zuma should be enjoying his retirement, albeit with the legal challenges he faces? Perhaps put it clear for us whether the ANC is concerned at all about the relationship between former President Zuma, someone who recently was in power, clearly fighting, because that's what this is. It's an open fight with his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa. And when the ANC has challenges within, we know that that has consequences for how they govern or how you govern the country. Are you at all concerned about this fight and the possible implications for the smooth running of government?
No, but I think we need to give an account on this case. This case starts from defense arms procurement that was taken by the national government in 1999 or so. And then at the time, former President Zuma was an MEC for Economic Development in KwaZulu-Natal. Then that's what was strange, that he was accused to have done something that was regular relating to the arms procurement, defense procurement. That was solely a project of the national government, but that is it's a personal. But this case has been long from, I think, if you remember very well, former President Zuma was officially charged, I think, around 2005. Then he was charged in 2005, and then you would know that that time President Ramaphosa was not even in government, was just in the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Was not in government. Somebody else was in government and all that. Then after that, the case went on until it was struck off the roll by a judge, the late Judge Xoli Mngambi in Pietermaritzburg High Court. Because MPA was seen to be not ready to put interference on the case and all that, that took over to Supreme Court of Appeal. Then when the President Zuma lost in the Supreme Court of Appeal, and even there you can see those processes, Ramaphosa is not in government. Then the NPA reinstated the cases. And then after that, NPA withdrew its own case in 2009 under Mokote Tinshe. Yeah. Then and all that. Then it came back in 2016 when that decision of Mokote Tinshe was declared as irrational by the Constitutional Court. It is then that these charges were reinstated as they are in the...
Let me do this.
Ramaphosa is not in government. Then I think the link of Ramaphosa with the case is really unfair to him, to be honest.
Let me crystallize my question and cut to the chase. The reason I'm asking the question about the ANC wrangles, which has implications for how government is run, is that President Ramaphosa said when this matter of his private prosecution by former President Zuma arose, he said, this has to do with my chances at the conference being thwarted or trying to stop me from being re-elected. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not using the exact words. And former President Zuma, in his reply, says, well, if so, so be it. If President Ramaphosa is prejudiced by this matter, how so? There's a step-aside rule in the ANC that says if you are criminally charged, you will step aside from your roles. That's where this matter is at. Does that concern you as KwaZulu-Natal, and where do you stand?
No, remember, when they are engaging at that level, they are engaging as litigants in the criminal proceedings, in their civil proceedings. It's got nothing to do really with the ANC. Yes, of course, it will impact because they are in their own right leaders of the ANC. But we must also be guarding against of taking personal issues of litigants as who are personal as litigants, but because they are just leaders of the ANC, and take that to translate it to the ANC, because they are not fighting about ANC matters in court. They are fighting about their own perceived views about whose role, what role is it. But I want to, what is ought to be important to be clarified here is that this case has started for a long time, and where we sit as the ANC, we think to directly implicate President Ramaphosa as the architect of this case with evidence before us and to all South Africans, it would be really unfair.
All right. Bheki Mtolo, the Secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, thank you very much for your time. That leads us to closer to the hour of 10 o'clock when we return.